Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spin Reviews, and today I'm going to be talking about the new album from Ronson called Uptown Special. Now, fun fact, this is actually my first time putting out a review of an album while a single from it is at #1 on the Hot 100. And on behalf of Marks everywhere, good on you, man. So if you turn on the radio at pretty much any point this year so far, then you've probably heard the song Uptown Funk a few times. And if you never really looked into it, you probably would have assumed it's just the new single from Bruno Mars' next album, which would make sense given it's been about 2.5 years since his last album, Unorthodox Jukebox, came out. But in fact, the song is credited to Ronson featuring Bruno Mars. Now, for those unfamiliar, Ronson is an English producer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist who's been a pretty prominent producer for some big-name artists over the last decade or so. He's produced albums for Adele, Lily Allen, Amy Winehouse, a few Nas songs, some of the biggest hits off Bruno Mars' last album, and played a good part in making the last Duran Duran and Paul McCartney albums as impressive as they were. And along the way, he's put out a few albums under his own name, basically acting as compilations of collaborations with other artists, where he produces and plays a few instruments, this latest one being no exception. Now, I'll admit right off the bat that I haven't really listened to any of these other solo albums outside a few tracks, since in addition to Time, despite having some big hits in the UK, they've never really gotten any exposure here in America. But like I said, because I am loosely familiar with some of his past work, I figured that won't be too much of a problem, and besides, most people in my position are getting the similar first impression with this new album. For this new one, Uptown Special, the most obvious and frankly natural comparison I can make is to Daft Punk's Random Access Memories. Both feature an established musical act producing and playing various instruments with a bunch of collaborators and guest vocalists, while using a certain 70s retro funk and dance music sound, and acting as a breakthrough of the US mainstream at the same time. The main difference for me, though, is that, for better or worse, there's a lot more cohesion to this album. You're not going to find any sprawling, genre-defying epics running 7, 8, 9 minutes, and at a pretty compact 38 minutes, there's a generally smaller scale to this album. But in a way, I actually think that works in its favor. Its main focus is on delivering one great, catchy pop, funk, and psych rock number after another. Going back to Uptown Funk, while I'm not going to use my initial claim that if you hate this song, you hate fun, you gotta take yourself pretty seriously to not at least crack a smile when it's on. The instantly infectious bass and backing vocal combo, the simple guitar line that recalls Nile Rodgers' work with Daft Punk that really adds an extra flair to the whole song, and Bruno Mars giving one of his best vocal performances to date. Unorthodox Jukebox, it really showed Bruno Mars' strong suit in bringing back these classic styles and making them fresh, and this is no exception. Now, like I have said in the past, a throwback sound alone doesn't automatically make a song or album good, but Uptown Funk is just an undeniably great pop song. A lot of the same stuff can be said about Feel Right with the rapper Mystikal, you know, shake your ass, move bitch, stuff like that. And on this song, he delivers just bar after bar of lyrics that are just so over the top and ridiculous that they're kind of amazing. You gon' fuck around and make me knock your fruit juice loose. Your banana, your watermelon, and your pomegranate too. I eat flames up and shit fire out. Don't make me light my butt. You get the idea. The other major star power comes in the form of Stevie Wonder playing harmonica on the first and last tracks, Uptown's First Finale and Crackin' the Pearl Part 2. But while granted he does do a great job on those, I couldn't help but feel like he was a little underutilized from not singing on the album. I mean, it'd be like if some big-time egotistical rapper got Paul McCartney on a song and had him just play piano on the whole thing. I mean, what kind of dude? Anyway, someone going into this album should know that Uptown Funk and feel right aren't really representative of the whole thing, at least not directly. A lot, especially in the back half, a lot of it has that 70s sound with smooth R&B grooves, keyboards, a healthy dose of falsetto, but while still technically keeping a foot in the rock realm. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, so for now I'll just call it Steely Dan-core. Now, I hate to keep drawing this comparison, but you know that Steely Dan-core song from Random Access Memories, Fragments in Time? Well, just imagine that about half this album is basically different forms of that, for better or worse. To me, the song In Case of Fire is where it works the best, and it's easily one of the catchiest songs I've heard this year so far. Another great example of this is Summer Breaking, along with the other two songs here to be sung by Tame Impala frontman Kevin Parker, leading Los Feliz and Daffodils, and his voice actually fits over Steely Dan-core pretty well. Although Daffodils has more of a disco feel to it in the rhythm section than anything else, I can still kinda put it in that camp. And while granted a lot of the songs on Uptown Special aren't exactly overflowing with lyrical substance, these songs with Kevin actually provide two of my favorites in this department. Summer Breaking especially has this really creative wording in the chorus. See, the first verse is kind of the typical song about having fun and relaxing in the summer, but then it turns around the second verse to talk about this girl who changes guys completely only to break their hearts in the summer. The chorus remains completely the same, but the meaning in every line changes completely, and I gotta say, that was just incredibly clever. Meanwhile, Leaving Los Feliz is about an aging hipster who slowly realizes that he doesn't fit in with the younger crowd anymore. I gotta at least give it credit for being something I've never really heard talked about in a song before, and delivering a few funny lines along the way. Now, just to round up some quick gripes, Crackin' the Pearl to me is just kind of a 2-minute momentum breaker in the middle of the album, and oddly enough, part 2 is way more interesting to me. Heavy and Rolling doesn't really do anything that other songs in this style didn't do more memorably, and as good as Daffodils is overall, I can't help but feel like it should have been about a minute shorter just because of how repetitive the whole groove of the song is. But overall, Mark Ronson's Uptown Special is a really enjoyable album, and it gets an 8 for me. Like with Random Access Memories or Bruno Mars' more recent stuff, it really takes these older styles and makes them interesting again, with great songwriting and infectious hooks, and as you might expect given the main artist of this whole thing, fantastic production. And if you don't believe me, just listen. I'm so sorry. So if you've heard this album, what do you think of it? Do you agree with what I had to say, disagree, have any feedback about the channel in general? Let me know in the comments down below. Share this around with anyone who might be interested. Like the Facebook page in the description for updates, commentaries, music news, and shorter reviews of albums I don't get to here. And hopefully I'll see you in the next episode of Spin It Reviews. And if you never really looked into it, you probably assumed it was just the I just didn't know if I wanted to say next or new, so I just said new in, I guess, a British accent. Hey, British viewers. Hope that didn't offend you. I'm done. Who plays harmonica on the first and last track. We are not repeating the Bad Sons blooper reel again, internal lung system, whatever's cursing me like this. On the first and last tracks, Uptown's first finale. Hell hath no fury, like hiccups mid-video shoot.